you could see in the intro of this video, today we're doing something that I haven't done before, I think ever, and we're going all in on an RGB build. And what that means is we have to pull out all of the tech YouTuber cliches when it comes to PC builds. I mean, this video is essentially going to be a Bitwit video. What's up, guys? That was actually a bit more like a Peter McKinnon intro than a Bitwit one. What's up, you guys? Is that what he does? He pretty much knocks himself out every time he does it. What's up, you guys? Now, this video hasn't been sponsored by nzxt, but they have been nice enough to send over a bunch of stuff. So let's go through the component list, starting with all of the nzxt things. Now, the case that I used for this build is just kind of like a generational improvement of one of my favorite cases ever, which is the nzxt H510i. Basically, all they did is refine an already very good recipe. So they put a USB 3 Type-C port in the front, and they have like a better RGB controller thing. Although I do want to point out that my favorite version of this case is actually just the non-I variant. I think that the H510 itself is a very good case for the budget, and when you start upgrading it to the I and the Elite versions, it kind of loses that very good for the budget charm, although they are very good for people who want to go all in on RGB. They sent over a couple of Air fans, not sure how to pronounce them, but they're RGB fans which look really nice. And then to top it all off, they sent over their new N7Z390 motherboard, which looks very good in the standard nzxt fashion. And this motherboard looks good, but it also comes with kind of my minimum requirements for a motherboard, which is stuff like a power button. Although the power button is on the rear I/O, which is a bit different to other manufacturers, but honestly, it's quite a good spot for it. It also comes with postcodes, which is really useful. And then the other components I used for this build is an i7-9700K, which is actually the highest end Intel CPU that I've ever used in a build before, so I'm quite excited to see how that performs. Graphics card wise, I used an RTX 2070 Super, which again, this PC is turning into quite the gaming beast here. We've got 16 gigs of DDR4 3200 megahertz from Team Group. This is really good looking RAM, and it kind of like complements the build in my opinion. As far as an SSD goes, I've got a 500 gig WD Blue M.2 SATA SSD, which hides under the kind of like plate in the nzxt motherboard really well, so it doesn't blew up the system too much. And then as far as cooling goes, there's an nzxt Kraken X52, I think is this version. Now, I didn't have nzxt RGB fans for the cooler, so I actually kind of had to use Corsair RGB fans because those are the only things that I had lying around. So with that out of the way and, you know, the initial build sequence, let's actually have a look at what this PC looks like when it's all assembled. Now, obviously, we're going to use the standard RGB settings, which is, I mean, honestly, they're the only settings you're allowed to use on a very RGB focused machine, and that's rainbow. I honestly think this build turned out quite well. I think it looks really good. And the nice thing about RGB is the fact that it doesn't have to vomit in your face as much as this build does. You can kind of tone it down a bit. But let's just have a brief discussion on what it's like to actually build this PC. It's like building any other PC. Like the nzxt H510 is a really nice case to build in. It's very similar to, you know, the previous versions of the case, and that's a good thing. Cable management in the back's really easy, even though there is a huge amount of RGB crap that you have to deal with in the back. I mean, I do actually have a video specifically talking about how that's my least favorite part of PC building. And on a side note, there's actually a new version of the cam software out, which is really good. It's way better than the old version, which the old version of the nzxt NZXT cam software really just made me want to cry to myself at night, but they've fixed it. It's way better. And when it comes to overclocking the 9700K on the N7 motherboard, it was actually really easy. I just pulled the slider to like 5.1 gigahertz and it worked. It did run it at quite a high voltage, but I think that I don't have the best example of a 9700K. And now it's time to see how this thing performs in gaming. As you can see from the benchmarks, this PC performs really well. It's actually the best gaming performance I've ever had on a PC. I was using it on a 1080p 144Hz monitor to actually play games with, and it dealt with it really well. In fact, it performed so well that there was actually some headroom left for me to turn DXR settings on in Battlefield 5. I promptly couldn't notice any difference and then just kind of switched it off. And with that, it brings me to the end of what is one of the most standard videos I've done on this channel in quite a while. Let me know if you liked it in the comment section below. Like and subscribe to the channel for more tech videos. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter for those kinds of things. And until the next video, bye-bye.